By this time, I'm sure you are also grieving and you know all the facts, all the basic facts of what happened. I will still repeat them for you just for a couple of minutes. We know that Air India's flight 171 going from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick, that crashed immediately after takeoff. So one basic fact, important fact. The total time from the flight beginning its takeoff run to the crash is 59 seconds. 59 seconds. The flight has been in the air for just about 31 seconds. That's all. So you can see how much time the pilot might have had to manage what obviously did go wrong. So that is one fact. The second fact we know, it was an Air India 787, which had been manufactured in 2013. So just a little over 11 years old. By the standards of modern airliners, not old at all, not quite new, but not old at all, must have gone through its midlife upgrade, etc., etc. So 11 years old. You also know that there were 242 in the plane, of which 169 were Indian, 53 were British, 1 Canadian, 7 Portuguese. These 242 have 230 as passengers, 12 as members of the crew. And we also know by now that one of these escaped. That's a miraculous escape. And it's escape like how? He's just walked out of the plane. He jumped out of the plane and he walked out of it. So Ramesh Vishwakumar, you are not just fortunate, but you're also very brave, because to keep your nerves about you in such a situation, he was on seat 11. 11A, Vijay Rupani, senior BJP leader and former Chief Minister of Gujarat as well, who perished in this crash. So these are the basic facts. However, don't just think about the plane and passengers and crew of the plane, tragic though their death is. Think also about those who suffered because the plane crashed over a big hostel of Gujarat's medical college. That is BJ Medical College. It's also one of the best. And this was at Atulya Hostel. And this was at lunch hour. So in the mess hall, a lot of the students were having lunch. A lot of them got injured, and unfortunately many died as well. I'm not giving you any number because we don't know the number yet, and number will keep on changing, hopefully for the better from what's been feared, but that is a second tragedy. So this is like a 1-2 punch, right? First you have the air crash and deaths, and then because of that you have this death and destruction where it falls. And you can imagine, this is a plane, it's a very big plane, because this is going to fly almost 10 hours. This was supposed to fly almost 10 hours to London from Gujarat. That's why all that fuel had to be taken. All of that fuel came down, a lot of it over this building, and that's what caused this big destruction there as well. So it's a double tragedy. We have to grieve, we have to send our homage to people who passed away, and sympathies to the families of those who died, and also compliments to those who carried out the rescue work, because you could see that they were very efficient, they were there in good time. And also the Tata Group for its communication. The Tatas had their CEO out immediately talking, giving one solemn message, but just a basic message, no rhetoric. The Tata Sons chairman also issued a statement, cancelled a celebration which was to be in New Delhi tomorrow for the grant of his knighthood. That was cancelled. All of these announcements were made. Also, a relief was announced for the passengers. However, the passengers are also entitled to their insurance and anything they might claim tomorrow in class action suits or civil suits, because if it is discovered tomorrow that somebody was at fault, an organization was at fault, particularly, and I'm saying particularly for a reason, if Boeing was at fault, then you will see massive class action suits. The particular reason I said Boeing is because in America, you have the culture of class action suits, law of torts, and large compensations being awarded. And Boeing is no stranger to it. It has made settlements in similar cases in the past. That is not to say that in this case there was a manufacturing defect or something was wrong with the aircraft, because these investigations take time. Sometimes they can take weeks, but often they can take much longer than that. Sometimes they can take up to years. That is unlikely to happen in this case, because in this case, all of the wreckage is available here, and the two black boxes, it looks like, would have survived this. At least one would, but chances are both would have survived this. And other important thing is, in just April this year, and see this story by my colleague Antara Barua, just in April this year, India started its own lab for reading black box data. Though India can read that black box data, can also record it, then share it with Boeing, and I'm sure the US National Transportation Safety Board also will come in. Their team is coming in. It's an American manufactured aircraft. They will also be investigating this. So this will be quite a thorough investigation. But remember, one obvious culprit in these cases is a manufacturing defect, something, maybe metal fatigue, maybe something going wrong with the electronic or electrical system. So one of the many things can be the cause. It can be a manufacturing defect. It can be a catastrophic electrical failure. Very rare, but not impossible. Nothing is impossible. After all, these are machines, and these machines are defying the force of gravity. They become safer and safer and safer and safer over time, but still nothing is 100%. Then there can be a total software failure. Now there are lots of parallel systems to override failures. Now, if you look at fly-by-wire in an aircraft like this, there are 7 different computers controlling the fly-by-wire. So if one fails, it overrides to the other one, so on and so forth. So there is a lot of fail-safe arrangement in the aircraft. At the same time, things do sometimes go wrong. We know about those 2 Boeing 737 Maxes, one with the Ethiopian Airlines, the other with the Indonesians, which crashed in 2018-19. And there's been a history lately of Boeing being caught or pulled up for maintenance and manufacturing problems with its aircraft, both 737 MAX and 787 as well. So you can rule out nothing. Once again, it can be manufacturing defect, it can be a maintenance problem, it can be electronic failure, it can be a software blowout, it can be a catastrophic double bird hit, although nobody has seen any birds there. If you see the videos, you don't see any birds. An aircraft has crashed, but that was in Hudson River in New York. See the year and date on your screen. An aircraft has crashed like this, but it flew into a flock of birds you could see. In this case, no birds are visible or evident. So that seems unlikely. It could also be pilot error. It could be the local maintenance issue. This will now open up with investigations. Now, the one problem is that because of this great tragedy, it's also a very big story. It's now dominating our headlines and our prime time, and it might continue to do so for a day or two. Just as till this happened, till this morning, I would say till lunchtime today, everybody was an expert on criminal law and sitting in judgment over the Raja Raghuvanshi, Sonam Raghuvanshi case. Everybody will now become an aviation expert. So we have to be careful. I also have to be careful. So I can make no guesswork. I cannot tell you that, oh, my hunch tells me this is what happened. So my colleagues today and my colleagues who have been covering this story, and I also did so because there are people I know, anybody I called, veteran pilots, serving pilots, Air Force veterans, air safety experts, none of them said, I think this happened. Because all of them said that if I speak from hunch and if I say, I think this might have happened, 1, that will be very unfair. 2, that will be very stupid of me. And 3rd, I will be judged very severely by my community. That means by my community of professionals. So it's not for us to make any guesswork. However, there are some possibilities. And I'm not weighing in for any possibilities. One possibility I told you everybody talked about was a bird hit, but you can see there are no birds and the plane is still quite low. The second is a double engine failure, a failure of 2 engines that almost never happens. But again, it's almost never happens. statistically with an aircraft of this quality and this vintage now. This vintage means this modern age. The chances, the probability, there's a probability for everything. The probability of both engines failing at the same time would be less than 1 in a billion. So did you have a 1 in a billion catastrophe? I don't know. Nobody knows, but we will get to know if such a thing happened, because flight data recorders, black box, etc. are available. They will become available, and a lot of other data will become available. Also was there a flap failure. Now, you might have seen when you take off on a plane, particularly if you sit next to the window on top of a wing, you can see that when the plane readies for a takeoff, then you can see the flaps, which is the rear part of the wing. You can see it go like this, right? Sort of cupping itself like this. Also in the front of the wing, those are called slats. They also go into a cup-like situation. It's very much like you see the birds flying. You see kites, cheel, flying, and you can see when they are cruising, their wings are a bit like this. That what is that for? The principle is the same. That is to use the air to create more lift. So while the engines give you thrust, this wing and this flap and slats on the wing, this is very basic. And if I get my aeronautics wrong, I apologize, but I'm trying to simplify it as much as possible, having listened to people who know. If any of these malfunction, then the plane will not get the lift. And if you see this video, it's a 59-second video only, just 59 seconds, of which the plane is in the air for 31 seconds, during which period the pilot has figured something is drastically wrong and he has hit Mayday. So that means he's already figured something's wrong. He's trying to do something about it. You can imagine how frantic he is. He still hit Mayday to say, look, I have a problem. Obviously, in that situation, nobody can help. Now, did the flaps not employ? If the flaps didn't employ, what was the problem? Was there an electrical problem? Was there a software problem? All of these are many possibilities. Was there, God forbid, was there sabotage? Was there some other ulterior game being played? We don't know. That again is something that I cannot say. Please don't fall for conspiracy theories, and please don't fall for speculation. Don't just blame WhatsApp. A lot of this stuff today also floats on many of our TV channels. We just saw that play out during Op Sindoor, and we also saw that repeat itself with the Raja Raghuvanshi, Sonam Raghuvanshi story, where you also see this AI generated images of a young couple going from this place, riding a bike, getting off, doing something, and you also saw text running on your screens as if somebody had picked out what they were actually saying. So be careful. Don't buy into any of that. That said, I will now share with you some more details. First of all, a health warning before I start. Because when a crash takes place, everybody gets very nervous, right? Most of us, many of us are nervous flyers, right? Anytime, even those of us who think we are champion flyers, when a plane hits turbulence, we get nervous, right? This is a natural tendency. So when there is a crash, the talk is, oh, it's unsafe to fly. One fact is, and I'm setting it out so early in this episode, because the idea is not to spread any scare. In fact, the idea is to reassure all of us, me included, that it is safe to fly. That there are horrible events like this, but they are really rare. And with newer technologies and more experience, these are becoming rarer and rarer. So today, flying, civil aviation flying, is the safest of all transportation modes. So please don't let this scare you. These are events that shake us all up. Also, while I will go ahead and tell you the problem that Boeing has had, particularly with 787 and also with 737 MAX, which was really the lowest point in Boeing's history. And in fact, international civil aviation's history, because we know that in the world now, there are only two major manufacturers of big civil aviation platforms. Boeing is one, Airbus is the other. Some of the others like Embraer do their stuff, but these two have a duopoly in this business. So for Boeing to have these setbacks, which also revealed a pattern of callousness, cutting of corners, etc. That is a worrisome thing. But before I go there, once again, so that we do not get scared, remember that as we talk, nearly 1,000 of 787, Boeing 787s are flying, right? Nearly 1,000 are flying, 787s. Several thousands of Boeing planes are flying, and several tens of thousands of planes of all kinds are flying. Civil planes, civil airliners of all kinds are flying every day. In fact, I will just at random take you to flight radar picture at that point and see this picture across the world. It's like a traffic jam in the skies. So even now, people are flying. So please don't be dissuaded from flying because of this. Also, another factoid that this plane itself, Boeing 787, which let us down today, it has seen 5 million flights already, more than 5 million flights already, with more than 5 million flights already involving more than 30 million hours of flying time. So this aircraft has quite a good safety record. About 1175 of it are now flying in the world with international carriers. I'm sure Boeing itself has a bunch of them for trials and tests. 2011, the first 787 was bought by an airline, and that was All Nippon Airlines. Japan's biggest airline has been flying with them since then. And in its history, this is the first fatal crash. Even this aircraft with Air India, this particular aircraft with Air India, 787-8 series, this had flown for 39,450 hours already. This amounts to 7,400 cycles. Cycles in aviation would mean preparing to take off, plane taking off, doing its journey, then landing, coming back to dock. That is one cycle. So 7,400 cycle. This plane has flown around. It's been a workhorse. What happened today? What went wrong today? I will repeat what I said earlier. Was it a manufacturing issue, a metal fatigue issue, electrical, electronic, mechanical, software, pilot error, maintenance problems? All those things we have to wait. We have to wait and not jump to conclusions. What I'll do now is I will tell you about the problems, some challenges that various airlines, particularly Air India, has had with the 787. So May in 2023, AI302, that is flight to Sydney from Delhi, it hit severe turbulence. You can't blame the plane or anybody for that. It was severe turbulence in which 7 were injured. January 23, 787, that is AI143, going from Delhi to Paris, burst a tire on takeoff, then dumped its fuel and came back and made a safe landing. Then again on August 22, AI133, bound to Delhi from Bangkok, had a slot malfunction and returned safely. January 23, I'm mixing up time periods a little bit. Jan 23, AI143, that is Delhi-Paris. It has a slight drive issue again. It had 231 on board, but again made a safe return. July 2022, that is Dubai to Cochin, it experienced a loss of cabin pressure and landed in Mumbai en route. Everybody was safe. Now I will take you to problems that some other airlines have had with similar series aircraft. 2024, a LATAM flight, Latin American Airways, LATAM flight went into a sudden dive leading to injuries to 50. Feb 21, FAA, Federal Aviation Authority Administration, Federal Aviation Administration in America, it gave an airworthiness directive to Boeing, that is, check out your planes for airworthiness, carry out the corrections. April 2024, a whistleblower raised issue about assembly quality with FAA. June 25, US regulator ordered for 222 US registered 787 planes to check out the safety of the panels in their passenger and cargo compartments. The trouble was that in some areas, decompression panels were coming loose. And this was particularly in the lower part of the fuselage where water and debris during a flight collect. That is the part that insulates the passenger area from the cargo area. And that is important to maintain compression, which means air pressure or oxygen on your flight. Since we are on Boeing, we will shift to the other type also, which has been a source of trouble for Boeing. In fact, that's one of the reasons Boeing has not declared a profit since 2018. And even today, after this crash, Boeing's stock price came down quite substantially. So Boeing 737 MAX, that's the variety that's given Boeing MAX trouble. Boeing 737 MAX 9 series flying for Alaska Airlines last year. This was a famous story where the fuselage panel from an emergency exit door blew out, and later it was found that key bolts had not been installed. एक पेच होता है, एक उसके ऊपर एक बोल्ट होता है, एक नट होता है, राइट? वो बोल्ट नहीं लगाया था. The key bolts had not been installed at the Boeing plant in Washington State. Boeing, shaken by all this, fired its CEO, got a new CEO, got several top people in its management team, started retraining its workforce, and even then, Mike Whitaker, who was then FAA chief, said that there will be enhanced oversight over Boeing is here to stay, and he also indicated that this will continue even after he leaves. Then I will take you back to those two cases, those two horrible crashes. Two 737 Maxes crashed 1 year apart, killing 346 people. There a problem was found, and this was purely a manufacturing problem with the flight control system. These planes acquired a mind of its own at some point. At some point, they just started diving, and there was no way the pilots, despite the struggles, were able to control them. These just went downwards into a dive and crashed. After this, there were many inquiries. And I will tell you the consequences of those inquiries. But the fact is that one indirect consequence of the problem with Jet 737 MAX series. 737 MAX became very popular, particularly with short-haul airlines, because it was then seen to be as the most fuel-efficient aircraft. So two Indian carriers suffered gravely because of the problems that Boeing had with 737 MAX, because both Jet Airways and SpiceJet had built quite a few of these, and both were counting on these fuel-efficient planes to come in and to help with their finances and also to increase their network. I won't say that Jet sank only because of this, but Boeing 737 MAX problems actually greatly complicated Jet's life and probably hastened its demise. Probably if these planes had come in, then Jet might just have been able to ride out that crisis period. Spice still survives, but has still suffered severely because of the problems with 737 MAX. Now, while all this is going on, I told you there was a whistleblower. Whistleblower also said there was a problem. There was a problem in the manufacturing processes. So John Barnett, the most prominent of the whistleblowers, he died in suspicious circumstances. He died, it was said that he allegedly shot himself with a firearm that he owned. But there were lots of questions around it. Because he had said several times that he was under extreme pressure from Boeing for his whistleblower activity. Now, at various points of time in its inquiries, FAA has found that parts of the fuselage have been improperly fastened together on Boeing aircraft. Another whistleblower by the name of Sam Salehpur, he testified before the Congress April in 2024, last year, and he talked about improper routing of wires in the aircraft, and also of engineers forgetting manufacturing tools, debris, etc. inside in the innards of the aircraft as they finished working. It's a bit like the old story of a surgeon sorry doctors to drag you in, but those are also very rare events. The odd surgeon forgetting a pair of forceps or scissors inside the body of a patient they might have conducted surgery on. So engineers, aircraft engineers doing that is exactly like that, except in that case, that endangers one life. In this case, it can endanger the lives of everybody on the plane, and as we've seen today, lives of many on the ground as well. Sam Salehpur, in fact, in his testimony to the Congress said that because of my whistleblower activity, Boeing has got sick of me. So that whistleblower has also been talking. As a result of all this, multiple litigation started. There were inquiries by the regulators, but there were also class action suits and civil suits filed by the victims of these air crashes, saying that it was Boeing's manufacturing processes that were responsible for their family members' deaths. Boeing not long ago made a settlement. They had made a settlement earlier in the Biden era. That's American law. Sometimes for very serious offenses also, you can plead guilty and you can make a plea bargain. So you pay a certain amount of money as fine, a certain amount of money in compensation after negotiations, and then that saves you from criminal trial. So Boeing made a settlement which adds up to more than $1 billion. So they said they committed $455 million in a fund for compensation to the family of victims. Another $455 million, $455 million into a fund to enhance quality and safety in their factories. Then they agreed to appoint a senior compliance professional to watch all that's going on by way of their promises. Boeing claimed later, while many of the victims' families, there were 346 victims, and I suspect there'll be many more now. Many more will join in that group now after this 787 crash today. Many of those victims said that they were not accepting this settlement and they will pursue their civil cases. Boeing, however, claimed that they had settled 90% of these civil cases and in the process paid out billions in compensation. If you add to this all that they paid to victims' families, and I take you back to the Biden era settlement, the total amount then was $2.5 billion. That's American law. This is like paying blood money. You can pay and you can be freed of criminal charges, even criminal negligence leading to mass slaughter. Now, in conclusion, we cannot list all 242 passengers on this episode of Cut the Clutter, but let's at least please join me in paying a tribute to the pilots. Captain Sumit Sabharwal had more than 8,200 hours of flying time on this type of aircraft, and his first officer, Clive Kundar, he had more than 1,100 hours on this type, which also implies that both had been flying other types for a long time. So very experienced pilots. Think also of the situation that they faced in those frenetic seconds. How would they have dealt with it? As experienced pilots tell me, that they communicate last. First, they try to do the best they can. So the principle that experienced flyers tell me, the basic principle they follow in flying is aviate. That is, once you know you've attained a certain speed on a takeoff run, that's called V1. Once you get V1, then you aviate, you fly, then you navigate, and then communicate. So all of that in this case had to be done in just about 31 seconds. So these two pilots. I will also make a special mention of two cabin crew members, two very young cabin crew members. See their pictures. Lamungthen Singson and Ganthoi Sharma Kongprai Latpam. The first is a cookie. Both are Manipuris. The first is a cookie. The second is a Methi from Thobal. Lamungthen Singson, the cookie, her family actually had to leave Imphal. The family used to live in Imphal, but they had to go to the hills as this horrible exchange of population took place in Manipur. So one cookie, one Methi, mates on the same flight, unfortunately were caught in such an awful tragedy today.